Hey everyone. In this quick video, I'll be showing you how to integrate GitHub Copilot into your Visual Studio Code IDE. It's a pretty simple, straightforward task, just like how you added your Jupyter Notebook extensions or other extensions using um, the inbuilt provider to add the extensions. So, as you might have heard, you know that Microsoft has now integrated Copilot capabilities within the Visual Studio Code. Now, what does that mean for us? Well, that makes our life a bit easier, right? To debug the code or write a code or resolve some errors within um, our at disposal IDE that is easy to use, right? So you all have been familiar with the Visual Studio Code interface. Currently, I'm in a blank Jupyter Notebook. And the first thing you want to do is to go to your extension tab and then search for GitHub. And when you type GitHub, you can either go full Copilot or just type GitHub, and it'll show you different options. So you have GitHub Code Spaces, GitHub Copilot, and GitHub Copilot Chat. So in this case, I have the Copilot Chat installed, Copilot installed, and the code spaces installed. So those are the three that you need in order to get through what we are trying to do. You can also install the pull requests, but for the GIS and remote sensing sort of stuff that I'm talking about, um, you might not need it for the basic purposes. If we go towards much more complex processing and some larger database management and stuff like that, then you might need the GitHub pull requests. So once again, um, once you install those three, you're going to see when you go towards your accounts, there's going to be options for you to log in. So once you click on this profile, it'll ask you that, you want to connect your GitHub to the Visual Studio Code account. So now in order to do that, first of all, you'd have to have a GitHub account, right? So in order to get your account, simply open up github.com, sign up for free. Right now I'm logged into my account. You can click get started for free, and that's gonna once you have the account created, you confirm within your email ID activation and stuff, it should be activated. And there are also some tutorials to get started. There are different, pricing and plans. We're just going to go with the free plan that is inbuilt, right? Now, there are certain limitations. If you opt in for the free plan, the daily limits for the usage is like around 2,000 code completions a month. And that's about like 80 per working day, just quite enough. You also get 50 chat requests per month, as well as access to both the ChatGPT 4.0 and the Cloud AI Sonnet models. So these are different AI models which you could leverage at your disposal. So once again, if you open up some in your Google Chrome and type in the GitHub Copilot for Visual Studio Code, you're going to see a lot of documentation, how it works, how you should log in, how you should choose your model, um, and there's custom instructions, naming things, other problems. You can also speak about your problem, and it can, work with it. Um, Once again, there's quite a lot of things that you could leverage in here, right? So once you have it installed and once you're logged in, you're going to see, I'm going to close this out. You're going to see this, it might prompt you to restart the Visual Studio Code, but once you click here, this toggle chat option would pop up and you'd see that, okay, for example, I had this code typed up, a pretty basic example. I told it to write me a code to generate normalized difference vegetation indices from a Landsat raster imagery. And it went ahead, imported the necessary packages like raster.io, NumPy, Matplotlib. Then it wrote the function to calculate the NDVI. Then it loaded the near infrared and the red band because those are the bands that we will need in order to generate the NDVI, right? And then it also plots the NDVI with a figure size, a color ramp, labeling, and a title. Okay, so now how are we going to do that? Okay, once you have it logged in, you should automatically start seeing this on the top next to your search bar. So I had a file which is open here. It's called Texas Fire, trying to get a total estimate of the total burn area across the Texas fire region. The fires that happened in 2024, also called the Smokehouse Creek Fire, and it burned over a million acres last year. So while I was running the code, I was importing the Landsat imagery from the ArcGIS Living Atlas. I was running my code to extract the bands. Then I located the Plemons, Texas area. And then I tried to add the Landsat imagery overlay on top of it. So I'm going to run that, and it throws me an error saying map object has no attribute add underscore layer. So up until this point, this was running. Just now, this function is not running. So here, when you see the error, you're going to start seeing this new icon, which says quick actions. When you click on that, it asks you for two options: fix using Copilot or explain using Copilot. So let's do explain using Copilot first. It's going to go in and start giving you some options, some answers, or some potential solutions. Then the other option is fix using Copilot. And when you type that, it's going to go in again and ask you that this might be a potential solution to get this code working. So let's try this. We can do accept and run, right? And that would go ahead and run it, or you could just copy this new line of code, close this for now, leave it as it is, add a new cell down, and paste the code that it suggested. So I'm going to run that. It still throws me error. It says cannot import name add underscore layer from ArcGIS.mapping. So that means this solution that it's giving us is definitely not working, right? So now the case is, the two examples that I showed you, the first one with the NDVI, where it's giving me the code, writing the code for me here in the Copilot and telling me what to do, right? Now, we don't know until we run this code that how foolproof it's going to be, or if it's error-free or something, right? It'll do the best to give you some solution or some start, right? In this case, where we just said this function, the add underscore layer is not working. So since I'm using the ArcGIS API, I know that there is contents. I think it's contents dot add. It's content dot add. And if I run that, it works perfectly fine for me. So it was a simple change of this add layer function, which wasn't working in my case, right? So the solution clearly it gave us did not work pretty well, right? So now that was a good example of like not every time, it's gonna give you the right solution, but it might lead you to the right path to resolve things. Now, another cool feature that you have here is you have the GPT-4o that I was running on, but you also have the Cloud 3.5 or 3.7 versions, as well as Gemini 2.0, as well as the ChatGPT o1 and o3 previews available here to run your code with. Now, once again, you see when I'm in a particular cell or a notebook, it automatically identifies that cell, and you could ask it particular actions. For example, I'm in here, and I could simply say that, let me try to find a line of code that's a bit long enough to doing some other functionality, something complex. Do, 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 do. Okay, so we're gonna say within this cell, write a code to calculate the total for an area. And when you give it the command, it's gonna go in, look for the context, look for the whole, you know, notebook, and try to see how it can calculate the total area, total burn area, right? So now it's going to give you suggestion. It's going to give you some comments, assuming burn area is numpy array with the classified burn severity. You're going to define the pixel in the area square meters, calculate the total area for each severity category. Now, once again, this is based on the training, the repository it has, right? That doesn't mean that this code is foolproof and it's going to just work fine, right? If we run it, of course, we'd have to change our parameters. We'd have to define our imagery. We'd have to define our image parameters as well, and then run it. So once again, um, there's, it definitely makes our life easier, but at the same time, got to make sure that you know each and every um, function parameter that you're trying to use and are fully aware of it. So just simply don't go in and use it for whatever GIS or remote sensing task that you're trying to attain and get done. But all in all, it's a great tool to um, sort of get you a quick start, a head start, um, help give you suggestions. It can help organize your comments. It can help organize some other content in your markdown cells and stuff as well. Um, it can definitely like add basic comments. For example, if let's go back to that line of code that, for example, right here in this particular cell, I'm going to say to write detailed comments for this cell. And it's going to go in, read the code, understand what's happening, and then based on that, it's going to write you comments for that particular cell. And that's a pretty useful function, right? If you're trying to understand, if you're trying to break down things, it's going to help you understand better. And if you hand this code to someone else who's basically starting with coding or programming, it will make their life much easier. Okay, so now that was a quick look at the GitHub Copilot within our Visual Studio Code with the perspective of remote sensing and GIS. There are thousands of other applications you could use this, as you might have figured out. But again, the major thing is that once you install it using the extensions, you log into your GitHub account, and then you link that account with your profile in Visual Studio Code, and you're all set to run it. Okay. There's also on the top you can see start chat to generate code. You could also do that, or you could just keep this chat as a open chat box right here and then keep asking it. You can also start a voice chat if you would like. You can also chat with extensions. You can attach context. You can attach files, notebook, Python files. Um, so, I mean, the best example would be to if you have a Excel sheet and you want to plot your data sets, go ahead and try that and see how the Copilot does the job for you. Okay, so that's sort of the end of this quick video. You know, feel free to explore more. There's so much capabilities, and these AI engines and um, models are getting better and better every day. And such integration, provides us a sort of a seamless workflow um, within our working environment. Okay. All right. With that, good luck using Copilot within your VS Code environment.